You are staring at a heavy oak door. Your palms are sweating against the cold metal of a leather briefcase. Inside that briefcase rests an instrument you stole from your own kitchen drawer. It is a standard 10-inch steel icepick. You are not a criminal. You are not a madman. You are a celebrated man of science in the year 1945. The sign on the brick wall reads, Delaware State Hospital. Behind this door, hundreds of patients are screaming, rocking, and waiting for a saviour. You believe that saviour is you. You take a deep breath, turn the handle, and step into the abyss. Level 1, the Saviour Complex. You walk down a corridor that smells of industrial bleach and human despair. The walls are painted a sickly institutional green. To your left, a young woman is strapped to a gurney, weeping uncontrollably. To your right, a man stares at his hands, lost in a catatonic void. The asylum is drowning. There are 400 patients for every single doctor. The state is threatening to cut funding. You look at the chaos and you do not feel pity. You feel opportunity. You open your briefcase on a stainless steel tray. You bypass the traditional surgical drills and the complex anaesthesia equipment. They are too slow. They are too expensive. You grasp the smooth wooden handle of the icepick. It fits perfectly in your palm. The local press is standing in the back of the room, notebooks open, cameras ready. They want a miracle. You are about to give them a show. You tell the nurses to bring in the first patient. A young man, 22 years old, diagnosed with acute schizophrenia. He is fighting the orderlies, his eyes wide with animal terror. You smile warmly at him. You tell him everything is going to be fine. You are not going to cure his mind. You are going to hollow it out. Level 2, the convulsion. You do not use chemical anaesthesia. It takes too long to kick in. Instead, you point toward a heavy black machine sitting in the corner, the electroshock apparatus. You place the padded electrodes against the young man's temples. He tries to scream, but the rubber bite guard muffles the sound. You dial the voltage up to 110 volts. You flip the switch. The young man's body goes instantly rigid. His spine arches off the table. His muscles contract with such violent force that you hear his shoulder joint pop. For 30 agonising seconds, electricity surges through his frontal lobe. This is not a treatment. This is your shortcut. You are deliberately triggering a grand mal seizure to knock him into a deep, comatose state. The switch clicks off. The young man collapses back onto the leather padding, breathing heavily, completely unconscious. His eyes are rolled back. His body is perfectly limp. You have exactly 8 minutes before the coma wears off. You reach for the icepick. Level 3, the crack. You stand over the patient's head. You do not put on surgical gloves. You do not scrub your hands. You look directly at the young man's left eye. With your thumb, you pull the upper eyelid back, exposing the white of the globe. You take the sharp tip of the steel icepick and slide it underneath the eyelid. You push the instrument upward, sliding it along the curvature of the eye socket. It slips past the eyeball without damaging it. You press until the tip hits a solid obstruction. This is the orbital plate. It is a thin, fragile sheet of bone separating the eye socket from the frontal lobe of the brain. You hold the icepick perfectly still at a 14-degree angle. You reach for your heavy rubber mallet. The journalists in the back lean forward, holding their breath. You bring the mallet down onto the wooden handle of the icepick. Crack. The sound echoes through the tiled room. It is the sound of bone splintering. The icepick drops 2 inches deeper, plunging directly into the meat of the human brain. Level 4, the twist. You do not hesitate. The steel is now embedded inside the prefrontal cortex. This is the seat of human identity. This is where creativity, anxiety, love, and memories are born. You look at your wristwatch. 4 minutes remaining. You grip the handle of the icepick firmly. You sweep the handle 40 degrees to the left. You sweep it 40 degrees to the right. Inside the skull, the sharp steel blade slices through the delicate white matter fibres. You are permanently severing the connections between the frontal lobes and the rest of the brain. You immediately move to the right eye and repeat the entire process. Tap, crack, twist, pull. In less than 8 minutes, the man's personality has been structurally dismantled. Level 5, the exhibition. The young man wakes up 20 minutes later. The animal terror in his eyes is completely gone. In its place is a blank, glassy stare. He does not know where he is. He does not know his own name. When you ask him how he feels, he drools slightly and smiles. The journalists are mesmerised. They are calling it a medical miracle. You realise you have achieved godhood. You no longer need a hospital. You buy a custom camper van and pack it with electroshock machines, mallets, and dozens of ice picks. The media calls it the Lobotomobile. You drive from town to town, state to state, offering your services to overcrowded asylums like an itinerant salesman. You turn the operations into a gruesome circus. You invite local mayors, students, and lawyers to watch. You smoke a fat cigar while driving the ice pick into a patient's face. To show off your blinding speed, you perform a two-handed lobotomy, driving ice picks into both eye sockets of a patient at the exact same time. You are performing 50 operations a day. You are unstoppable. Level 6, the tiny patients. The year is now 1953. The adult wards are emptying, but the state institutions are complaining about a new problem: difficult children. Orphanages are packed. Stepmothers are complaining about unruly stepsons. The system wants them quiet. You look at the data and you see a new market. You are standing in a cold room at the West Virginia State Hospital. A 4-year-old child is pinned down on the table by 3 heavy-set nurses. The boy is sobbing, screaming for his mother. His crime? He throws temper tantrums. He wets the bed. He does not sit still during dinner. The medical chart you signed reads, childhood schizophrenia. You do not feel a shred of doubt. You place the electroshock electrodes on the child's small temples. You flip the switch. The tiny body convulses. You pull back the soft skin of his eyelid. You place the ice pick against the fragile bone. You raise the mallet. You tell yourself you are saving his future. Level 7, Howard. You meet a 12-year-old boy named Howard Dully. His stepmother brought him to your clinic. She tells you that Howard is defiant. He shifts his weight from foot to foot. He stares into space. She wants him changed. She wants him broken. You charge her less than $200 for the visit. You put Howard under. You crack the orbital plate. You twist the steel. When Howard wakes up, he is compliant. He does exactly what he is told. He sits in a chair for hours without moving a muscle. His stepmother is ecstatic. You write in your journal that the operation was a resounding success, but you do not see the long-term wreckage. You do not see the patients who lose the ability to speak entirely. You do not see the ones who lose bowel control for the rest of their lives. You do not see the ones who develop massive brain hemorrhages and die quietly in their asylum beds, while you are driving to the next town. Level 8, the chemical ghost. The year is 1960, and the wind is shifting. A new entity has entered the medical market, a small circular pill called Thorazine. The pharmaceutical companies are marketing it as a chemical lobotomy. It pacifies the patients, without the blood, without the mallet, and without the public theatre. The asylums stop calling your phone. Your Lobotomobile sits rusting in a driveway. You are bleeding money. You become desperate. You travel across the country, tracking down your old patients, forcing them to take IQ tests to prove your icepick made them smarter. The medical board looks at your data with growing disgust. You are an anachronism, a relic of a brutal past. But you refuse to stop. You believe the world is simply too blind to see your genius. You schedule one more operation. Level 9, the final bleed. You are standing over a woman named Helen Mortensen. It is her third lobotomy. The previous two did not quiet her mind enough. Your hands are shaking slightly with age. The year is 1967. The operating room is empty of journalists. There is only a cynical nurse watching the monitor. You slide the icepick in through the eye socket. You strike the mallet. You twist the steel. But your angle is off by 2 millimeters. You feel a sudden, sharp lack of resistance. The steel blade has severed the main cerebral artery. Dark, thick blood begins to pour out of her nose and her tear duct. The monitor flatlines. Helen Mortensen dies on your table. The medical board revokes your surgical license the next morning. You are banned from ever touching a patient again. Level 10, the forgotten vault. You die in the year 1972, completely broke, universally despised, and utterly convinced of your own innocence. The medical world moves on, burying your records deep within the forgotten archives of history. The icepick is placed in a museum case, a bizarre relic of a dark age. Decades pass. The old asylums are abandoned, their brick facades covered in ivy, their tiled operating rooms rotting in the dark. The world thinks the nightmare is over. The world thinks science has evolved past the butchery. You are standing in a modern, brightly lit clinic. The year is 2026. A young mother is sitting across from a smiling doctor in a crisp white coat. Her 6-year-old son is running around the room, knocking over plastic cups, unable to sit still. The doctor listens to the mother's complaints, nods sympathetically, and reaches into his drawer. He does not pull out an icepick. He pulls out a prescription pad for a powerful, mind-altering synthetic stimulant. He hands it to the mother and tells her it is a miracle cure. The cycle begins again.